The first true settler that we can find that actually lived in Fort Kent and was actually settled here was in 1810, 200 years ago. They settled on a little island which is on the French Road. It's called Daguel Island even today. In 1817, there was a group of men or families that came from the Kennebec area. There were Bakers and there were Haffords and there was Savages, and they moved to Fort Kent, and they came down through the Allagash River and down the St. John, and they settled on the Fish River. In 1825, the first business started in Fort Kent, which was the Fort Kent Mill Company. And that started about where the mill is now, the Tardif Mill is now. And that was started by Daniel Savage. Moving on, Maine and New Brunswick fought amongst each other until the state of Maine, which had never happened before and hasn't happened since, the state of Maine declared war on New Brunswick. And then they started, in September of 1839, they started construction of Fort Kent, the Fort Kent Blockhouse. But the treaty itself that solved the whole problem between the United States and Canada, which established the St. John River as the boundary in between the two, happened on August 9th, 1842. And that was between Daniel Webster, who was the Secretary of State at the time, and the other one was Lord Alexander Ashburton, who was the British equivalent to the Secretary of State. Fort Kent, it was in 1841 when the United States troops came. The governor at the time was Governor Kent, Edward Kent, and he was governor at the time, and they decided to name it after him. It was only until 1869 that when we became incorporated as a town that we were officially named Fort Kent. So if you walked into a store in Fort Kent in the early turn of the century, for example, you could walk into a store and you could hear French, you could hear English, you could hear Syrian, and you could also hear Yiddish and Hebrew. So it was kind of a strange town, I guess, where we had all kinds of different nationalities that might have worshipped in different places on every Sunday. However, 6 days a week, they worked together and they lived together. Except Fort Kent in 1969, we celebrated our centennial, which was the largest event that Fort Kent or any valley town has actually hosted. One day we had a parade, which was Sunday, the 29th of June, 1969. We hosted a parade here that we had to turn people away. There were 27,000 people that came to visit Fort Kent that day. So it was, the parade was, the largest parade we've ever seen. There was 75 floats, and there was numerous marching bands, and we've pretty much stayed the same, I would say, since 40 years ago, even since the 1970s. But we've gotten much more modern and more, I would say, even more American in our thoughts and in our comparing, let's say, an American my age that lives in Clare. We're two totally different people. We're very different.